Don't you just love that opening music? The closing song is even better. Some old Irish Julian pipes about the famine years in Ireland. This is my favorite part of the show where I get to see all of you arrive. All right, looking good. I see a couple of new faces there. Aloha and mahalo to all my Hawaiian friends who tuned in tonight for my very special guest. And we will get to him in a little bit. I'm going to light a candle and do an opening prayer for a sister of ours in Christ by the name of Angie. And I ask that all of you please keep Angie in your prayers tonight. If any of you would like an opening prayer offered up for you or anybody that you know at the beginning of my show, just send me a message. I'm not hard to get a message to, and I will most certainly do that for you at the beginning of one of my shows. If you would like to absorb some of the positive energy from this prayer, or if you would like to contribute some of your positive energy to this prayer, it's very simple. Just reach out, touch your computer screen, and while I'm praying, just close your eyes and bow your head. Let us pray. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Christ has no body now, but yours. No hands, no feet on earth, but yours. Yours are the eyes through which Christ looks compassion into the world. Yours are the feet with which Christ walks to do good. Yours are the hands with which Christ blesses the world. Saint Teresa of Avila. Amen. God bless you, Angie. Hang in there, sister. Welcome. This is Reverend Shawn Whittington's Paranormal Ministry. I am your host with the ghost, Reverend Shawn, the Rev, ordained exorcist, deliverance minister, advanced practice. For all of your anything you want to know about me, one-stop place, that would be my website. And that is www.ghostbegone.biz. The ministry right here in Las Vegas, Nevada, taking cases now. While you're visiting the website, keep in mind that my wife Sharon and I do not charge for our ministry work. So if you're able to and you notice the button, send in a small donation. I promise you it'll be appreciated from the bottom of our hearts, and we will put it to good use, I assure you. While you're there visiting, you'll notice some interesting pages. The first one I want you to take a look at is called Spiritual Advisor. I am also a certified spiritual advisor, intuitive coach, listener. And if you're having any issues of a spiritual nature, not necessarily attached to the paranormal, and you would like to make an appointment to talk with me, Reverend Shawn, you can do so on that page. And I will do everything within my God-given gift of discernment to try to help you find solutions to your spiritual issue. You'll notice a page there called Ireland Tour 2021. That's right, brothers and sisters. I'm headed to Ireland next year, and I'm only taking 21 or 24 of you. You can go to that page and check out the complete itinerary and see how many people I'm taking, but it's a very low number. The tickets will go fast and it will sell out. But I assure you, brothers and sisters, this not only for me, but for the 24 people that go with me, it's going to be a once-in-a-lifetime, life-changing experience, even if you've already been there. Check out the itinerary. It'll leave you with your jaw gaping open and your eyes wide open, too. It's tailor-made for me. I'm the host, and we are going to do some fantastic, fantastic spiritual, paranormal things there that just are going to blow your mind. Also, look at the page, the WSE course/book. I am founder of the Worldwide Society of Exorcists. I offer a 12-week online course, college-level online course called Introduction to Spiritual Warfare. I recently had that course once again reviewed by another bishop, another friend of mine who's a bishop at a diocese here locally in Vegas. He emphatically gave it 2 crucifixes up, said the course is right for the time and definitely right for anyone feeling a calling to the deliverance ministry. You can enroll in that course there. I also have a Facebook page, Worldwide Society of Exorcists, if you just want some more information on the course. But all my students graduate and receive a stunning diploma suited for framing, among a lot of other very special parting gifts that you can only get from yours truly. So please keep all my former and current students in your prayers. Last but not least, my new haunted autobiography, God, Ghosts, and the Paranormal Ministry. And I quote, "The scariest book I ever published," unquote. That is from Annette Munich, owner and publisher of Stellium Books, my publisher. Brothers and sisters, sometimes it takes something scary to fight something even scarier. Please do your good deed for the day and purchase a copy of my book. Part of the proceeds of every sale of every copy of my book goes to support stjude.org and St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, Nevada. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing. If you have already purchased the book, you're a part of that support group, so God bless you. You can get the book at Amazon. You can also get autographed copies from the ghostbegone.biz website. And buyer beware, some of those copies that I autograph and send out of the office here have been known to have an attachment or two to them, which I find mind-blowing. So buyer beware on those. All right, guys. This just in from my new producer, Carl Albertson of Paranormal Nation Radio. He wants everyone to know that here on Facebook, the comment section under the show is exactly that. It's like a chat room. Jump in there, ask a question of me or my guest. Carl will make sure he gets it up on the screen, and I will do my very best to address it as soon as I can. Make some friends in there. We're all family here, like-minded people. Make some friends. We're all brothers and sisters, and have a good time, okay? Make your comments. Have fun, okay, guys? That is Carl Albertson, Paranormal Nation Radio. I'm so blessed to have met him, made friends with him, have him producing my show now. And there's a lot of other really great things going on right now on that network. So follow that too. Good friend of mine, Katrina Cooper, has a show on there. W Entertainment's on there. The Vets do a lot of wonderful things on that network. So keep that in mind. I am going to look down here. We were having some difficulties trying to get a hold of Lopaka Kapanui, my guest tonight. I don't know if we got him or not. If you don't know Lopaka, everybody that knows him loves him. I love the man. I respect the man. I haven't talked to him in a long time. So I'm hoping we get a hold of him. You know, they're a couple hours behind us. It's all the way over there on the big island of Hawaii. So we're having some difficulties getting a hold of him, but he may pop in at any time. But he is just one of those guys. His reputation is legendary, especially for Hawaii Paracon 2018, Hawaii Paracon 2019. I believe they had to cancel this year because of the pandemic, which also hit Hawaii hard like it hit everywhere else. But as soon as they get back to doing the Hawaii Paracon again, you've got to do what you can to try to get out there and check that Paracon out. The first ever Paracons held there on the island. So they were actually just blew people away. Allison Jornlin helped Lopaka put that together. But he is the all-to go to for all things haunted Hawaiian style. And I'm wearing this beautiful kukui tree bead necklace that a very good friend of mine sent me. I'm wearing it in honor of Lopaka. And I just found out now that he is, I believe we're catching him right now. Let me see if he pops on here. Lopaka, you with us, brother? Checking in now, I see. I hope so. He is just a wonderful guy. He's a master storyteller. That's big. It's like big in his culture is the keeper of the tales, the one in the family that passes on the tales and the important knowledge of the history of their culture to the next generation. And not only does he do that, and he gives ghost tours there in Hawaii. And, I promoted that a lot of the ghost tours and haunts, Hawaiian haunts, have been known to be deadly. So during the show, if we get them on here during the show, if you all of a sudden see Lopaka and I drop to our knees and bow our heads in reverence and don't move, that's because the marchers are coming. And that's exactly what you have to do if you're hiking in the hills and you see in the middle of the night, see the marchers coming, the warriors, the Hawaiian warriors coming with their lit torches. You need to jump off the path and drop to your knees and bow your head. And hopefully you're in enough of a state of grace, God bless, that they just pass you and no harm comes to you. So let's see if we got him yet. Did we get Lopaka yet, Carl? I know he's trying to connect with us. Not yet. Don't have him yet. We're still trying, brothers and sisters. If we don't get Lopaka on tonight, God bless you all for tuning in, because, without you guys, I don't have a show. And I appreciate each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart. And you're all on the prayer list. I put everyone that attends the shows on the prayer list every week. And so that just means the world to me. I've received so much support for this new venture that I'm on, with doing continuing to do the show. It almost went away, but I just got overwhelmed by so many people saying, don't go anywhere. Everybody can catch me Monday nights on Vegas Supernatural on KCORradio.com. Been doing that for almost 5 years. But I got hooked over the last 8 months doing this live stream video cast, the Paranormal Ministry. And then, I don't care if it was one person that reached out to me and said, Rev, don't go anywhere, please. That would have been all it took. But hundreds of you reached out to me, and I don't even want to talk about it anymore because I'll get emotional. I'm one of those weird guys now, those weird old guys that cries over everything, like commercials, music. It's depressing. I was up late the other night. I work in my office all night long. The paranormal cases, guys, they never stop, 24/7. Dark, malevolent cases. Please pray for all my clients. But I was watching, I don't know if you remember the old Billy Crystal show, where he goes, City Slickers. And here I am crying at the end of the movie because he helps a cow give birth to a little calf that he ends up adopting. And at the very end of the movie, when he realizes all of the cattle are going to go to the slaughterhouse and not sent back out another rodeo, he gets so upset he ends up adopting that calf. So, I found that very emotional. But Carl,
ready to introduce your guest?
Oh, I sure did. We get a hold of him?
Yeah, introduce it.
Brothers and sisters, oh my gosh. Starting to get a little emotional there. I can't believe we got him. I love this guy. Welcome to the show, brothers and sisters, the one and only Robert Lopaka Kapanui. Brother, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
There you are. What happened, brother? Are you okay?
I got a couple of screaming grandkids I have to take care of.
Oh, God, that's okay. I mean, I got circus bears here barking and running all over the place. If the kids are running around screaming, brother, this show is for all ages, for all family members. You know me, I don't stress about that kind of stuff. But oh my gosh, look at you. Such a handsome man. Do you mind me asking how old you are, brother?
I'm 57 years old.
Okay, well, you look 40 at best. I hope that's a compliment.
Well, that is a compliment.
I'm 10 years older than well, if you were 40, I'd be 20 years older than you. I just turned 60, but you look wonderful, brother. I can't believe it took us so long to hook up like this again. I know you're one of the busiest people on the face of the earth. I never forget Allison for introducing the two of us. So let me get right to it. Let me put your feet to the fire here. Oh my gosh, the most important thing. How are you holding up during the pandemic? Your wife, your family, all people close to you. How is that going?
We're holding up okay. The short story is my wife worked for Macy's a number of years, and all of a sudden back in February, there was a mass layoff. And bunch of people didn't find out until they were they had to work on this project nonstop for a week, and then as soon as that was done, they were all let go. And so we've been able to do okay with live streaming with stories and merchandise. We're not making $1 million, but we're floating.
Absolutely. You're like I said, even 2+ years ago when we met, I told you I love you, I respect you, and I still do. I told you then I put you on the prayer list. You never were taken off it, so I do pray for you and your family. Yeah, we're in the same boat. My wife is 76, has twice my energy. She never stopped working because we work at an animal hospital. I'm a veterinary technician. She's the office manager, so she never stopped working. And it was crazy. I got furloughed for a couple of months because they did away with the late afternoon evening shift, which I worked. So it's been tough, but at the same time, it's been scary. My wife's out there, on the front lines with the animals at the animal hospital. And I was scared to death that she would contract it. And we've had some scares, and we've gotten tested, and both tested negative.
Oh.
So God bless for that. But it's a scary time. I just recently went back on a very extreme part-time basis, but it's been tough financially, spiritually, all of the above. Check all the boxes. But you look wonderful, brother. I'm glad you guys are hanging in there. And let's do some fun. Let's talk about some fun stuff. I'm wearing a necklace. I don't know if you can see what it is.
Right.
A very good friend of mine who used to live in Hawaii, still visits there often, got it for me. I've had it blessed since. I did some research into the necklace. I wore it for your honor. And what's funny is not funny, but I found it interesting that not only did people in your culture, usually of royalty, wore them, but I also found it interesting that many holy people used them as like a rosary, so to speak, prayer beads. So
Right.
often I've taken a break from the rosary and used them as prayer beads. I keep it simple. I just throw a Hail Mary and an Our Father on there, maybe a prayer to St. Michael short version in English. But I love the necklace. I hope you enjoy me wearing it for your honor. And I want to ask you about the Paracons. They are still, people that went to them are still talking about them. You did one in 2018, one in 2019, the very first Hawaii Paracons ever. I would assume they're probably not happening this year because of the pandemic and maybe some other reasons. What is going on with the Hawaii Paracon and what's happening with all of that?
The first Hawaii Paracon, we talked about that. It was based on one thing, and we were not successful for some reason. And at the very last minute, sponsorship just pulled out.
Oh, was that the first one or the second one?
The first one. And luckily, I got a hold of Allison. We were able to bring her over. And when I was at the peak of my stress, I had a dream one night at 3:00 in the morning. My late mentor, Glenn Grant, he's the godfather of ghost tours. He started it all in the islands. He's from Culver City. But he came to me in my dream, and he was wearing this horrible Aloha shirt that we all hated. It was yellow and green. And his khaki pants and his Pumas. And that's how I knew it was him, and it was for real. But in my dream, he said, you're forgetting the purpose of why you're doing this. And he says, go back to not only what I taught you, but what your mother and your ancestors taught you. And so I forgot that, it's a Hawaii Paracon. So, it has to be based on things that are culturally Hawaiian and spiritual. And so my wife woke up like right after I got up out of the dream, sat up on the bed. She says, what's the matter? I said, my boss is just here, and here's what she said. And she says, oh, yes, that's it. And so really successful. The second one on the weekend of the Paracon, and it was unforeseen. We couldn't predict that there was going to be about 40,000 Hawaiian people marching in Waikiki, Florida.
Oh no.
Those are the spirits.
Absolutely. That happens here too, brother. I'm actually sitting in probably the most haunted spot in my home. So I get people that reach out to me all the time after a show and say they saw this or that behind me. I have a dream catcher that I don't know if the camera can catch. Sometimes during the show, particular topics, it'll just start spinning wildly out of control. My wife sees my doppelganger here from time to time, sitting in this chair working away at the computer, only to find the real me somewhere else in the house. That's pretty amazing. But I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead with the rest of your story, brother.
Well, no, go ahead. So this last Paracon, because there was such a large movement for our volcano called Mauna Kea, and the Hawaiian people were involved in preventing a telescope from being built because it was being built on or going to be built on important cultural sites, and so the protest for that happened the weekend of the last Paracon. And so 40,000 Hawaiians and local people were in Waikiki, having this rally. And the bulk of those people were the ones who were supposed to be at that Paracon. But, even though the audience wasn't too big, it was still successful. And thank goodness these people were who paid for the entire weekend were kind enough not to ask for a refund. And so we had great people like Allison and Lloyd Arbach and Stephanie and Scott, Stephanie Burke, Scott Porter. We had David Weatherly and his wife come in. We had my cousin who's a kahuna of Hawaiian tattoos, and a guy from the Philippines talk about the spirituality of tattoos and how sometimes they've had their own personal paranormal experiences, while applying the design.
That's the spirits, brother. You know it. You know it. Come on. And and if you don't acknowledge them, it's going to keep happening. So just, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I'm trying to
all respect. I said a prayer. Let me tell you what I did before the show started tonight. I hope it worked. I don't know if you remember me talking to you about, I was having a lot of really bad luck out in my yard. Not so much in the house, although I live in a haunted house, and occasionally I get these demonic drive-bys if I'm getting ready to work a very dark case. I always know one's coming down the pike before I even get the phone call. If activity, spikes here in the house of a different type of nature other than just the regular ones that are here in visitation. But out in my yard, I was having a lot of issues. So I started looking. I was out there gardening one day, and I found this very unusual rock that doesn't belong here, doesn't belong in Vegas. I'm like, what is this all about? And I asked my wife, I said, do you know anything about this rock? Did you bring this rock here? She goes, oh yeah, that's a rock. My wife lived in Hawaii for many years. Oh, that's a rock I brought back from Hawaii. I went, oh no. I don't know if you and I talked about this. You told me either ship it back or treat it with reverence. What I did was I took it from the spot it was at, and I took it to the nicest area in my front yard that just has all beautiful natural wildflowers, flowers I've planted, beautiful succulents. I sat it in there amongst all the really beautiful flowers and stuff. I prayed to it. I poured holy water on it. I left some peanuts and candy and some tobacco there. And all of a sudden, all my issues stopped. That whole garden area is flourishing with natural aloe, among other beautiful flowers that used to never grow there. I had a big tree that was going to fall on my home, and I prayed to please have the tree fall the opposite way, not hitting my neighbor's house or his car, and land in my yard, please. I'm telling you, the tree was like this coming down on my home. I woke up the next morning, it was completely down the opposite way, perfectly in the yard between the two driveways, stopping just short of the sidewalk so it wouldn't hit nobody. I don't know if it was the mini hoonie. But hey, when in Rome, I am an ordained minister, and a lot of people in my field don't believe in ghosts and stuff, and that's okay. I don't judge anybody, but since the age of 10, we're talking 50 years of being a ghostbuster before I became ordained. So that's a lot of years of seeing things and experiencing things that I know are real, that exist, like you do. Mm-hmm. That, hey, I got people in my field that get on me about having done that, going out and praying to the elementals. But it worked. Something about that worked. So I'm a big proponent in that. And I put on the necklace, went out there and prayed to that rock last night for tonight's show. So some of the spirits in your home are letting you know that they're still there and they're ready to enjoy a good show. And we got to acknowledge that, or they'll just keep being mischievous. So.
That's funny you say that. That's a very Hawaiian thing, acknowledging the spirits and the ancestors. So the course of whatever task you're undertaking goes right. So thanks for that.
I'll tell you two more things that I remember about you. You're one of the most interesting people I know, absolutely the authority to go to on all things hauntings Hawaiian style. But what I remember most about you was a couple of things. Now, if I say anything to you disrespectful, know that it's my ignorance of your culture, and that from my heart I don't mean to be disrespectful, and correct me on it. But you know how athletes sometimes in the field, after they're done playing each other, they exchange jerseys on the field? Have you ever
Right.
seen that?
Oh yeah.
I still want to come out there and exchange with you an authentic Scottish kilt for one of those beautiful, it's not a dress. I know it's not a dress, but one of those beautiful things that you wear, especially like when you're doing your hula school and teaching people and telling the stories. What is that garment called? And is that disrespectful to exchange like that if you and I ever met?
Um, that's called a kihe, and that's the one you sort of tie over the left side in a knot, kind of like a sort of like a toga, but not.
Okay.
And so, in my school of learning, you could only wear that once you finished every task that you were charged to learn. And so, for myself, and I don't advertise. I do blessings and cleansings and other things like that. So, when you see someone wearing that, it's treated with a great degree of reverence because you know the person earned it. And unfortunately, in the tour industry, everybody wears it, but you can tell who's got the real one because it's one they have to make themselves, as opposed to the ones people in Waikiki wear that they get from the Fabric Mart.
Absolutely.
So I would be honored to meet you and do that and exchange one.
There's so many things. I'm trying to get out there to see you and meet you in person. There's so many things that I want to do there. I'm now corresponding with a Father Brian on Molokai to actually get out there because I want to go on a spiritual vision quest there. Something's drawing me there. I know that island is very just steeped in history and tradition, and it's a very spiritual place. And where I'm hoping to go, they normally don't allow outsiders in. There's a couple of churches there. I'm following the Saint Damien churches there, and all of their stuff that they're doing there. I'm trying to be able to get there on a little spiritual vision quest if I'm able to make that happen. So I'm still working on that. If I get there, I'm going to try and get out to meet you in person. But you mentioned it earlier in the show, the tattooing.
Yes.
So I know this is TMI, and I'm going to lose half my audience here, but I've kept the hips, the thighs, and the butt cheeks. I'm fully sleeved, but I kept the hips, the thighs, and the butt cheeks clean. If I ever get a chance to meet, is it your cousin that does it? He's world-renowned tattoo artist, correct?
Yeah, he's the first kahuna of traditional Hawaiian tattooing in 200 years.
Wow.
So when you get here, we can arrange it if you wouldn't want to do a live.
Oh my gosh, that would be phenomenal. And I understand that once he meets you, he doesn't tattoo everybody. He may not find me worthy of some of his artwork, and I would honor that. But it would be a dream come true to have him feel that I'm worthy, and wherever the tattoo may be. I joke around about it being on the butt cheek because another Hawaiian friend of mine said it might be there. It's wherever he decides it fits you for your spirit. Yeah. So I'm not a small guy, so he's got quite a bit of canvas to work with, but that would be a dream come true. And so, yeah, I'm working on it, brother. And if you ever get out to Vegas, there's a big, huge Hawaiian population out here. So you're welcome. You and I could find some interesting things on the paranormal side for you and I to do if you ever get out here. So keep that on your to-do list. That's on the top of my to-do list to try and get out there to Hawaii. Let me see what I got here that I wanted to talk to you about. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to get to it all. You give haunted tours there. I know what I wanted to talk to you about. I saw your show last night.
Oh boy.
No, brother, you have such presence on the camera and articulate when you speak and the things that you speak about. And it's not just matter of factly, it's stuff, things that we need to hear, things that are being passed down from you. And I love the story you told about the person in the family in your culture that is groomed to be the psychic of the family.
Yeah.
Now you are more of, I think of a lot of cultures have the storyteller in their culture, the keeper of the tales, the person that passes that stuff on to future generations. I think of you more like that, but I don't know. There's a lot about you I don't know. Explain to me and my viewers what you are in your family line and more about the person in your culture, in the family that's the psychic.
Let me ask the boss. Babe, what am I in my family? She says I'm the humbug brother and the troublemaking grandpa.
Yeah, I knew that was gonna not probably go where you wanted it to go, Asker. That's why I would never ask my wife on air what I am to the family. That's a good one. Okay.
I think in the capacity of storytelling, I would agree with you that I probably through no choice of my own, I believe it was, for lack of a better word, and please, I say this humbly with no arrogance, I believe it was divinely inspired through my ancestors, to my mother, who taught me everything. But really, we say it's storytelling, but for me, when I'm in the mode or the moment of storytelling, it's really channeling.
Absolutely.
For lack of a better term. And as for your other question, in the tradition of certain families on the south part of the Big Island where the volcano is, as it was in my family, every generation, one person in the family was taken aside because the elders could see the signs and they would begin to train them to be the haka, which in English terms means, the psychic medium or the person who channels. And so what would happen is they would experience something the Hawaiians call noho akua. And noho means to sit, and the akua is the ancestral god or the deity or the ancestor itself who literally sits on your shoulders and through you communicates important messages
Wow.
to the living family. And a lot of times, they can't get through to us because we're so focused on other things.
Yeah.
So
just you telling me that story is
yeah,
I'm feeling the rush of the it's that's heavy duty stuff, man. And I think it's what's so beautiful about your culture is that it's encouraged. Our culture, not so much. It's like people still. There's paranormal teams that won't, investigate with a psychic. There's people that are terribly down on psychics. Some of my best friends are the most talentedly gifted psychics in the world. It's like they have a direct hotline to God in the spirit world. I totally believe that. Totally on board with that. And like, you talked about the elders, they were able to sense and see that in the child, and that's why they encourage that. Not so much here.
mm-hmm.
And I find that sad. What advice to whatever nationality or cultural background anybody has, what would your advice be to someone that notices their child is probably gifted and gifted in that way? How they should handle it, what they should do?
Oh, my boss over here. First and foremost, we should love our child no matter what. And so the child exhibits some sort of psychic ability. It's best to not freak out and not chastise your child or condemn them as being demonic or evil, but find out what's going on. And then if you as a parent can't figure it out, then go see somebody who's for real, that could possibly help your child out. That's essentially how I ended up forming this group called the Grant Society, which is named after my late boss, Glenn Grant, but it stands for Ghost Research and Native Teachings. And in the course of a few years, I've run into a lot of young people who have a different level of psychic ability, but their family, their mom, didn't understand what it was and condemned them. A perfect example is a friend of ours who's like our son now. His mom couldn't deal with the fact that he was clairvoyant, but also that he came out. So she took him to a church to have an exorcism performed. And when it didn't work, she completely disowned him. And so meeting people like that, the first thing I tell them is, listen, you're not going to go to hell. You're not evil. Here's what's going on. You have psychometry. You're a clairvoyant. You're a clairaudient. That's all it is. And a lot of times they haven't heard words like that. So the simplest way I explain it to them is, up until now, you've been walking around in life with just a nickel in your pocket. But now that we've spoken, you got a penny. You got 6 cents.
Oh my gosh, that's a wonderful story, brother. I wish I hear from a lot of parents all the time. And there have been times where they have asked me on the side, listen, when you talk to my child, could you discourage this? And it's heartbreaking. Those are usually, well, there's a whole list of why I may cut a client loose. And that would be one of them. And it's heartbreaking because like you said, you got to love them no matter what. And you have to encourage them. They were given that gift for a reason. And the child is already struggling. There's a big struggle going on inside of the child, whether to accept or not to accept their gifts. And you've got to handle that with kid gloves. And who am I to discourage that? Now I'm not the parent, so I tell them, listen, you can handle this any way you want to handle it, but I can't be the one that discourages your child from this. I'm in the other camp, so that's tough. But oh my gosh, let's talk about you're going to do the tours again. I remembered hearing you say last night. Oh my gosh, how is that going to happen? Here, we're just opening up from the pandemic. It's scary. Some places you go, nobody's wearing a mask. Some places you go, people are all on top of each other. We just had all the riots. How are they handling that where you live? And what special precautions will you take when you start your ghost tours back up again?
Well, fortunately, we're starting out with the walking tours, which will leave us at a distance of 6 feet. We all have to wear masks, and it's limited to 10 people. And so I'm not quite sure how that's going to work effectively for a walking tour. So I'm thinking about, like I was saying last night, bringing a microphone and a karaoke speaker that we can wheel around, and hopefully that works out. And you might have heard me by the end that since we're going to do it at the end of the tour, let's somebody record us singing karaoke safely.
Yeah, very cool. I'm going to ask you, how we doing on time? Okay. I'm only asking you this because you had a lot of your followers, people that love you, have reached out to me and sent me messages. Please ask them this. Please ask them that. One of the requests I got, which jumped right out at me, and I'll tell you why it jumped out at me. You knew I was going to ask you to share a couple of your favorite supernatural stories, Hawaiian supernatural stories with us. But when I saw that request from one of your followers, it jumped right out at me. It's something that, if with your permission, I would love you to do before you start the story. And it's all about appeasing the spirits here. And I'm feeling, even here, there's a lot of activity going on in my room right now. So what I wanted to ask you, brother, and it's entirely up to you, before you start your stories, in your language, in your native language, if there's a special blessing you would like to put over my viewers and the show, and for the acceptance of the stories you're about to tell, I would that would make my evening.
Oh, okay, sure. Let's do that. O no na I kapua me kale hua e halale hua no ia na tanoi e ta uno ia no ine ali ane ho I o ta hiti mai hiti mai no to hiti pu no me te aloha aloha aloha.
That was wonderful, brother. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was wonderful. So, lay it on us, brother. The scarier, the better. Something that comes from your heart. I mean, I joked around a little bit. I didn't mean to, but I joked around about if people see you and me all of a sudden drop to our knees and bow our heads. It's because the marchers are coming.
Right.
Any recent sightings of the marchers?
So I think the latter part of last year, we were doing an urban legends themed tour in Waikiki, at a big park called Kapiolani Park, and the theme of the urban legends tour was night marchers. And so, toward the middle of the tour, I was pointing toward the dormant volcano called Diamond Head, and talking about how night marchers were seen in that area. And sure enough, we see 2 or 3 torchlights, which we first think are like, porch lights or, car lights, but we see them going at a quick pace right up the slope of Diamond Head, like into the crater. And even from the distance we were standing at, the lights were moving too fast and just going straight up this way, right into the crater. So we also have a very big thing about bones. We have a great reverence for bones, and we feel they're important and they need to be respected. So your longer bones contain all of your spiritual essence, your mana. But if you have enemies in your family and they find your bones, they can use it to put curses on your own family. And that kind of thing is still going on. So we're talking about night marchers. Years ago, I taught at a charter school, and one of the parents was a police officer. And he told me every time there's a rookie that's fresh out of the academy, they either get stationed in Waikiki or downtown Honolulu in Chinatown. And so he said, as a rookie, he was stationed in Waikiki. And he said 10 o'clock every night, all the rookies had to take the Cushmans. Now they drive quads. And they have to go into the big park at the end of Waikiki and chase out all the undesirables, the homeless, people like that. And so he says one night, he's with his partners, they're chasing people out, it's after hours. And he says all of a sudden this thing that he couldn't see picked up his Cushman with him in it and turned it around and started to shake it like this. And he said, whatever that was actually shook me out of it. And he said, I had my helmet on, but I hit the ground hard enough that it really, really hurt, sort of almost knocked him out. And so he says when he takes his helmet off and he's sitting on the grass and he looks up, he says there's a procession of warriors going through the park and they're heading toward Diamond Head. But he says to me, they're headless. I can see the regalia, the feather capes, the loincloth, the weapons. I can hear the drums, the conch shells, the red torch lights, but they have no heads. And so he asks me, he says, what is that? Why are they headless warriors? And so I told him when the great King Kamehameha came to Oahu in February, April 1795, and he defeated the combined force of Maui and Oahu, he had prisoners of war after the battle. And everybody knows that when Kamehameha took prisoners of war, he always gave them the option. He says, you guys can be on my side. I'll give you land. I'll let you marry a couple of my wives. You won't want for anything. He said, but if you don't want to be my friend, that's not going to be a good thing. And so after that battle, warriors still loyal to the Oahu and Maui forces refused to be on his side. And so on the slopes of Diamond Head, there was a huge temple of human sacrifice called Papa Ena Ena. And he took them to the compound near that temple, these prisoners of war. And there were more than 1,000. And he himself personally went up to every single one of them and broke every single bone in their body. And he let them suffer. Then he came back about a couple of weeks later, and a two-pronged wooden weapon called the makalua, which means 2 eyes, he scooped their eyes out personally. And then when that was over, he came back the last time and chopped their heads off. And then lined the walls of this temple of human sacrifice with their heads. And so I said, during the nights of the night marcher procession, that particular procession of warriors with no heads comes through this park, and they march toward that old temple of human sacrifice, which shocked the police officer even more.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
What's now on the old temple, on the foundation, is the school for girls, called La Pietra School for Girls, possibly the single most haunted school on this island.
Holy
And why
cow,
that was
yeah.
funny is after I told him that, he says, "Oh my God, my daughter just got accepted to that school."
Oh no. Oh my gosh. Has she told him any stories?
I haven't seen them in a couple of years, but I remember almost 10 years ago being called there to tell ghost stories at La Pietra, the school built on the Temple of Human Sacrifice. And a lot of the girls who are former students of mine at the charter school, told me stories. But the principal walks up in front of me and puts her hand on the microphone. She says, "You can tell any ghost story you want, but nothing about the school."
Ooh. Here's my next question to you then. Like, I know that there's areas, a highway to be exact, and maybe some other areas where it's believed in, like in Ireland, they don't build on fairy mounds, or they don't build where there's traditionally believed clans of leprechauns live. I know the Minihuni, they do that there where you're from. They don't build around them or on their land if it's believed that they exist there. What's the theory behind building a school on such a sacred site?
Well, the thing is, our kapu system, our ali'i, our chiefly caste system, was toppled by our own people after Kamehameha died, because his wife was, she felt constricted by this male-dominated culture. And so it was she and Kamehameha's high priest who set the temples to fire. And so that sort of encouraged, the missionaries and the forthcoming American businessmen to just, build whatever right on top of it. But we also understand that Kahumanu, Kamehameha's late wife, was in such a rush to get rid of this caste system that a lot of these old temples were not properly, the consecration was not lifted to make it free of any, anything that might hurt anybody. So there's still a few temples like that that are around.
I remember the last time we spoke, you were very upset about, you were in charge of watching over, I believe it was, if it wasn't a sacred site, it was a historic site, maybe a park, and it was defaced. And you were very upset about that. You didn't know if you should actually physically go to where the grounds had been defaced and fix it yourself. Was that you?
I think it was a Hawaiian cemetery where all the headstones are toppled.
Yes. What happened with that? You were very upset about that. I don't blame you. Who does that, and what happened with that?
They caught some footage of a homeless person who might have been on drugs going through there and just knocking them over. And the great thing about yourself, Shawn, is that you don't judge anyone. Neither do I. It's a Christian graveyard with Hawaiians buried in it, and so that's why I was upset. These are the first Hawaiian people of that church who are in that graveyard who have descendants that are still around today, and some of them not from this island. And I was also upset because it's just completely disrespectful.
Yeah.
Not only to the person buried there, but to the living family. And that's where I've been able to go for years to do ghost stories, with the kind permission of that church. And just for me as a human being, it was a horrible thing.
Well, did they fix that? Were they able to get the proper people in there to fix that back up, or is it still in that condition?
I think there was a stonemason company that came and did it at no cost.
Wow, that's beautiful. Oh my gosh, how we doing on time? We're getting up there. You know, brother, this one, unlike my Monday show, is only an hour long. You and I can't wait another, I don't know how long it's been, over 2 years since you and I spoke.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to wait that long till next time to do that. Now, let's talk about the mini hoonie, because I had such a up close and personal relationship, if you will, with the elementals here,
Right.
and I've got that rock out there. I had a coworker, an old coworker of mine who was Hawaiian, and she showed up to work one day. She, the tiniest little petite thing you can imagine, and I knew she was Hawaiian, completely covered from jawline to the tips of her toe with the type of artwork your family relative does. But she was so tiny and petite. You should have saw the look on her face when we first met. I called her Mini Hoonie.
No.
And I started calling her Mini Hoonie. At first, until she got to know me better, I could tell she didn't know how to take it. She didn't really take it great. She wasn't mad. She knew that I'm harmless. But after a while, she knew that it came from love, and she got a kick out of it. She wouldn't let anybody else call her Mini Hoonie. But to me, she reminded me of a Mini Hoonie. Talk to me about the Mini Hoonie, what do's and don'ts with them, people coming to the island to visit, that think of them or even see them, or where you might travel where they're known to be, do's and don'ts in your behavior and approach to them. And I am going to go on record and say I believe in them.
Oh, I absolutely do. I saw one a couple of years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What did that do to you personally? Now, to this day, I still see and experience things that leave me like this. And I just have to sit down and reflect and go, am I experiencing magic? Am I going crazy? Did I really see that? What did that do to you?
That just, it really, it rocked my world.
Absolutely.
But it validated so much, because up until then, I've been really campaigning, for the Menehune, for their origins, and why certain places need to be left alone and respected, and having to answer calls about people whose homes are being ransacked by something they can't see, and I find out where they live, and I tell them, you're sitting on a Menehune fishing village from way back. And they ask me, what do I do? I said, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
But right now, leave out a certain type of fish once a month, leave out a certain type of banana, and you should be fine. And I said, until that happens, no matter what, and this is no disparagement to anyone's belief, but I said, hold off on any sort of blessing or cleansing. And what I mean by that is, please don't have anyone come to your house, waving the holy water, get out, be gone. Because that's just, no offense, my brother.
I know.
But that might actually agitate the situation.
And me, myself, I many times have gone into situations, my presence alone is a provocation. And sometimes even when I've done things myself that made things worse, believe me.
Oh, yeah. I have to. I'm not perfect, but that's how we learn.
What was the experience you had? What did it look like, and how? Nothing's by chance. You were chosen to see that. I hope you believe that, because I see things that I know nobody in my field has seen, and I know that God has allowed me to see that, and it was meant for me to see that. What was that like? What was the vision like?
It was about, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. We're at a place called the Bear Estate, Bayer, and the Bear Estate is an old, quaint 2-story cottage that's used as Steve McGarrett's house on Hawaii 5-0, but the owners have Japanese weddings there. And it's a really great location. It's right on the water. And the owner, her name is Suze. Great person. That's Anella commenting right now. I'm still waiting for my Five Guys burger, Anella. So, and she's always been nice enough to let me host, ghost stories or whatever at her place. And the night we were there, we were telling Japanese ghost stories. And when it was done, we're out in the backyard, sitting on the veranda, and she came out and gave everybody ice cream. And she started to tell us that, there's menehune in her house. And she's seen it while she's upstairs helping the bride prepare. She'll see it sitting under the bed or peeking out from somewhere. Her husband, who's a retired prosecuting attorney, said he's a non-believer until in his retirement he started to see it too. And they're talking and everybody's oohing and eyeing, and I'm standing here, the people are over here, and Suze and her husband over there. And I glance into the living room. And as I look into the living room, on the walls are the couches like this, and in the middle is a table. The corners facing toward the couches. And you know how the tables have the legs? And so this is a dark wooden color, this table. And I just momentarily glance, and where the leg is, I see it's colored brown. And then I see someone go like this. And we make eye contact. And this person, his skin color is the same color as the wood. And it's perfectly smooth skin. He has no hair. He's got bushy eyebrows. He's got dark brown eyes. And there's almost a sheen to his skin, and his knees are up against his chest like this. And he sort of just leans out and looks at me like this. And then when he leans back, he's gone. And I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. And the only thing I could think to myself was, you idiot. You have nothing to offer.
Oh.
How are you going to make this right? You're being disrespectful. I looked at my ice cream bar that I hadn't eaten yet, and I said a Hawaiian prayer, and I left it in the planter, which happened to be tea leaves, which are used for sacred ceremonies. And in my heart, I said, please forgive me, my ancestor, my elder, for not acknowledging you properly. I wasn't sure this was your, but please accept this gift. This is all I have.
It was accepted. It was accepted. Do you believe they're just physical, or are they spiritual too? You said it was just gone. Did it vanish like a spirit, or are they physical and have the means to let you see what they want you to see and not what they don't want you to see?
I believe that 100%. And that's because of how Suze and her husband talked about how they would see them 1 second and then they'd suddenly disappear. Like see them walking through the living room, going past the fireplace, and they're gone.
Yeah, that would rock
so
my
I believe
world too, man. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, it's the real deal.
So your recommendation would be to, if someone has an experience like you there visiting, or if they move there, you should immediately address them with respect and try to figure out an offering to leave for them?
The safest kind of offering to leave is a biodegradable flower lei. That's the safest thing. I would not encourage food because we had this thing about, feeding the gods and imbuing them, with mana. But the second you go back and you have nothing to offer, a lot of the elders believe that the essence of what you put into it will now come forward and take something else.
Interesting. Very interesting.
And since you're the only person standing there, you can figure out what's going to be taken.
Very, very interesting. You've left me with something to chew on there. Oh my gosh. 6:01, brother, out here in Pacific time. Listen, this is, the favorite part of my shows in the beginning where I say everybody arrived. My least favorite part is this part at the end. I love you. God bless you, brother. I have a great deal of respect for you. I know you know that. Thank you so much for taking an hour out of your busy Sunday afternoon with the grandchildren there, trying to help your wife deal with that and all of that stuff. You know it's appreciated. You know all my viewers, most of them that showed up today, showed up for you. So I know that I can feel the appreciation from them too. Thank you so much. I want you to have, and your wife and your grandchildren, to have a blessed remainder of your Sunday evening. And let's not wait 2 years before you and I get together again, okay?
And I'll have one of those kihei when we make the exchange, especially made for you. We'll do that.
Brother, before I say goodbye to you, is there any final words of wisdom you want to lay on anybody with this crazy time that we're in right now?
If you come upon somebody you absolutely know that doesn't like you and you're sure of it, hug the hell out of that person. Kiss them against their will. Give them love whether they like it or not, and tell them to their face, hey, you and I may be different, but I love you. I love you.
Yes. I'm going to say goodbye to you before you make me cry, okay, brother? Lopaka Kapanui, I love you, brother. Have a great evening. I'll be in touch, okay?
Love you so much. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You got it, brother. I'll be talking to you soon. Oh my gosh, brothers and sisters. Robert Lopaka Kapanui, live from Hawaii. I'm so glad we were able to hook up with him. My producer, Carl Albertson with Paranormal Nation Radio, is the best, um, and came through for me on this one. Thank you, Carl. Guys, like I said, from the bottom of my heart, I don't have a show without all of you. So God bless you all for tuning in. Next week's guest. Oh my gosh, you all know her, you all love her, the paranormal MD herself, Mary Marshall. You can catch me tomorrow night in Vegas Supernatural. Until then, guys, have a blessed week. Everybody stay blessed, stop the violence. And good night, Harold. Rest in peace. Good night, Ernie. Good night, Bill. Good night, Dan. God bless you all. See you next week. Good night.